Evidentially, everyone of you is here right now. But awareness of being here and now is partial. Some of the awareness is on the feelings. Another part of awareness is encapsulated within the thought process. The attention and focus can be engaged with the outside objects or the inside experiences. The outside world usually is referred to as materialism, and the inside world is usually known as spirituality. However, there is only one. The outside and the inner are not separate. They're only divided by attention, by the placement of your focus and attention. However, you are aware of your placement of the focus and attention, whether externally or inwards. And therefore, this awareness of external or inward, internal, the awareness itself is one. And it is only a faculty of distinction, a sense of outward and inward, which creates that seeming separation. The separation is experienced as a sense. It seems to be experienced as real, as an assumption of real. However, upon closer look, the inward and outward is only a sensory perception, a distinction and assumption. So therefore, the deepest allowing is allowing everything to appear and be as it does in the light of your awareness, in the light of seeing that this is outward and this is inward. And for a moment, every one of you can notice that this is outward and this is inward. And for that moment of noticing, it is a question, where do you notice the outward or inward? And who is noticing the outward and inward? How do you check it? How do you know what is outside and inside? So this checking is simple, and every one of you can do this. And this checking happens in awareness itself. The mind can barely register that noticing itself because it immediately assumes that, okay, I checked, I know it. So it immediately assumes the position of knower. It immediately claims that I checked it and therefore I know it. But even the mind who claims that the I has checked it and that the I knows the result of it, even that is witnessed in your awareness. It is seen that the I has immediately jumped in and assumed that I did it and I know it. So even this fact that you are aware and you can notice the I assuming the position of the center of the pinnacle and the center of the whole experiential reality, the center of your universe. Of course, it wants to be grandiose, the biggest and the best, and the widest and the big and the most expanded, and the deepest and the highest is the I. However, since you are aware of that I, therefore a question arises, who is first? Who is more fundamental? So therefore awareness always precedes any appearance, outward or inward, any assumption, any any even sense of reality. I emphasize sense of reality, sense what is real and unreal. The same way as you can sense that this body is real and that your imaginations are unreal, that sense of real and unreal is also a dualistic sense. And even that is seen in awareness itself. And to put it very simply and plainly, what is awareness that I'm talking about? It's the light of noticing. And that's it. If you want to replace the word with awareness with the light of noticing, then that is also fine. If you want to be more intelligent, you can name it as consciousness. If you want to be religious, you can name it as God. If you want to be scientific, um, they haven't figured out that it's consciousness, not the universal mind, and neither quantum. So therefore you can assume any kind of name, but to put it very simply, it is a light of noticing, generally referred to as awareness or consciousness or the self. So things are truly simple, and it cannot be any simpler than the light of noticing, of what is simple or what is complex and perhaps even unsolvable. But your duty is not to solve the mysteries and puzzles and quizzes. Your duty is to simply notice what is here in the light of noticing. And therefore, this light of noticing is so immediate and so direct And it is so here and so now that anything that appears right now and here, no matter how deep, big or small, it all appears in this simple light of noticing. So therefore, the quest for enlightenment is more about to dismantle the unreal assumptions, is more about to stop chasing the wind, is more about realizing that most of the desires are desires and imaginations, and what is true and real, it is actually already here, and it is so simple that is simpler than anything that the mind can think of. It is the light of noticing itself. So therefore this clarification is necessary of what is full consciousness, what is the self, what is enlightenment. It is knowing that this light of noticing is no other than you, yourself. And it is so much you that it cannot be removed from the present moment. And it is more real than the feeling of I-ness, me-ness, myself. It is much closer and more intimate, this light of noticing. It is more intimate than the feeling of intimacy. So absolutely close. It has no distance. It doesn't need to go anywhere apart from what appears in your perception and what you follow with your attention. All of these are manifestations at various levels, degrees of depth. So this light of noticing is most real and most fundamental and most direct, most close, most loving, most natural, most you than it can ever be, than you can ever be. And everything else is objective or subjective, which appears in your awareness. So this is we can call the Enlightenment 101, the basics of what the self is. And of course, then we could investigate the outward objectivity, the inward objectivity, or the subject itself, which is the I, myself, perception, focus, attention, which create a certain limited position of experience. So these would be further elaborations on the nature of relativity and how people, humanity experiences the reality. However, enlightenment in itself is the simplest thing that can ever be, but the complexity is the attachment of objectivity and what appears and what you take as real. and what you desire and what you not desire as well. So now let's do a practice together, and we will start exactly where you are, starting exactly here where you are, starting exactly with what you feel, starting exactly with what you experience. And we will be making the way back into awareness, into this light of noticing. So the very first step is to slow down your experience so that you are more in touch with what is experienced, with what is here, whether there are any thoughts or any feelings, any energies. Slow down and allow allow these to be here, whether thoughts, emotions, or feelings, energy. Slow down and allow. Any pressure you can allow for a bit. Any pain you can allow just for a bit. Any discomfort you can allow just for a bit. And you can feel that there is more space, that that which you allow, a thought, emotional feeling, is in the space. Just like every cloud is in the space, in the sky. Even if there is any resistance or wanting to change something, allow that too, just for a while. Any experience, allow it just for a while. And the next step is to notice your experience as a whole. Your experience as a whole includes this space, this room, this environment. It includes everything being experienced right now. Allow that just for a bit. And the third step is to notice that this is the experience. And to clarify that it is noticeable in the light of awareness, that there is a and noticing itself. You may call it observation, but this noticing is even closer than observation from a distance. Because of course this experience is happening here, and you can see, you can gently confirm, you can gently verify that I do notice this experience here. And the last step is to verify how this noticing is happening. Not to slip back into experience. It can be very slippery from the noticing itself into experience. Or your mind may come up with some questions or confusions or doubts or worries. But then you need to slow down even more a little bit and to recognize that perhaps a confusion arose as part of experience, or a little worry came up as part of experience. And you are noticing that too. And therefore slow down a little bit more so that you can be more present, presently here. And you can inquire, who is noticing this experience? Who is the noticer? If you receive the mental answer, it must be me or I or someone else. That is the mind itself coming up with the answer. But even that you can see. So don't get tricked into the mind, into the answers. We're not looking for answers. We're looking for experience of reality. We're not looking to understand the reality or to know the reality. We're looking to experience that instant of recognition that there is a light in which the whole experience is happening. And you don't need to try to visualize that light, because Buddha called it emptiness. It can appear as bright or empty or transparent. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that there is a space in which experience is happening. So we should not try to stick with any conclusion, but only to experience for a moment, for instant, that you can notice this totality as it is. You can notice it for a second. And the mind might not be convinced that that is what is it looking for. The mind perhaps got convinced by reading some books that enlightenment must be absolute bliss or untouchable peace or infinite love. So the mind might disregard the truth and reality and keep on looking for the object of desire or experienced, preferred experience. And I'm not saying we should try to change this experience into a preferred experience. No, I'm saying allow this experience as it is, even if it's not nice or uncomfortable. Let it be because it is like this. And the truth is that you can notice it, you can see it, you are aware of this experience. So how come that is enlightenment? Because that is absolute one. That is absolute acceptance. Relax into that. The mind needs to be clarified or retrained to surrender to awareness of the present moment. Because otherwise the mind will come up shortly with something else to look for, with some other kind of experience that it envisioned, imagined, or simply prefers. So enlightenment is not about preferences of experiences. It is not about changing experiences. It is about recognition where experiences happen. The sky is not trying to change the clouds, to alter the clouds, to get filled with the clouds, or to get cleared of the clouds. The sky itself knows that it is the sky, and it allows any kind of experience to happen. So enlightenment is that deepest allowing for all to happen here as it is, and to get clarified that the mind is searching for alterations. That the mind is seeking for preferences, seeking for certain fulfillments, for certain qualities, attributes, and ways. And therefore, the mind can ignore the present moment isness. But even that ignorance can happen only in the now. And there is a place in you, of you, where you notice even the ignorance of the mind or the accumulated wisdom. I've read so many books, I know so many things, I know so much. You can also notice the accumulations of relative experience. So we only need to clarify the present moment experience to recognize the immediacy and directness of awareness, of noticing, the light of noticing, or a conscious state of noticing, which is very natural and effortless. You require no effort to notice the present moment like this. However, you may require the whole effort in the world to change your experience. So if you want to be free, do not invest too much time in trying to change the experience. Invest more time in realizing the nature of experience, the nature of awareness of experience. How does that work? So it's immediate and direct. It can only happen now and here. And it will happen fully when you will clarify your mind, when you will release that which your mind is holding on to, that which you have habituated yourself, that which you have imagined to be real, that which you have attached to, or that which you want to alter as your preferred experience. That needs to be cleared, clarified, healed, released, forgiven, forgotten. And 1,000 times you need to come back again and again to the light of noticing. 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, until you truly realize that that's all it is, that that's the source of being, that that is who you are fundamentally, and that only that can truly fulfill you. And that the mind has had so many illusions, desires, attachments, and it's fine, it's all fine. So enlightenment is that, is being as the light of noticing. its embodiment is living like the light of noticing. You may say from your perspective, becoming the light of noticing, although you are that already. Clarifying, this is what is necessary. In heaven, everybody recognizes that they're the light of noticing. On earth, everybody forgotten that they're the light of noticing. And that is your way to heaven, because that's where everybody knows that they're the light of noticing, awareness itself. That is called one, where everybody is awake from forgetfulness, from the mental distortions, from unclarities. That's why the heaven is always associated as the sky above the clouds. That's why people have been seeking to travel above the clouds, to build the buildings above the clouds, to climb the mountains above the clouds, where everything is clear and obvious, and freedom is experienced as the brightness of the light of seeing above the clouds.